Happy Friday, everybody. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Josh here with On the Wrong Lead. Another episode of You've Gotta Be Sha Tinning Me. I am joined, as always, by Matt Carlson. Matt, you hanging in there, buddy? Because it sounds like you've had a rough week.
My daughter got sent home from daycare on Monday, and so she's been sick basically all week with Lord knows what mystery symptoms and whatnot. And when you have a 2-year-old and you're home taking care of them the entire week, there's like 1,000% chance that you're going to catch whatever they have. So now I'm dealing with it. And happy Valentine's Day to me for that. So not that we had plans anyway, but at least now we have an excuse. So
Yeah, we ended up just picking up takeout on the way home from picking my wife up from work, and I had uh, I had some like flowers and stuff waiting for her, so that was nice. But Matt, she gave me the best gift I think any gambler could get:
what's that?
cold hard cash.
Look at that. Wow.
I was laughing because I wake up, and so when she goes into the office, she usually, I mean, she's out of here by like 7:20, 7:30 in the morning, and I'm like not a morning person. Since I like when I go into the office, like I basically start my day at 9. Whether I go into the office, like I get into the office at 9, or if I'm here at home, I usually log in at 9. So some days, like I mean, like she's like leaving for work, and I'm sleeping until like 8:57. Rolling out of bed and logging into my computer right at 9 on the dot sometimes. And so like I'm still like, clearing the like crust out my eyes and stuff, and I'm like sitting down at my desk, and I'm like, what's this envelope? And she she wrote us a little happy Valentine's Day, and left me some cash for Vegas in a couple weeks.
Look
So
at that.
yeah.
Don't spend it all in advance of that, the way
No,
Turkey's been
that's
going
going that's
for
going
us.
into
But
the Vegas fund. It's going into the Vegas
there you
fund.
go.
So
Nice.
um
I've
but
seen I've seen you probably need it. A lot of the posting on Vegas has been how much money it takes to be on the strip lately. So
yeah, and like it was funny because I was talking. I don't know how much I talked about this on Drinking Champagne, and we didn't have an episode this week, but I've pretty regularly gotten between $100 and $200 in free play, and like $100 and $200 in resort credit from MGM, and usually I get basically any resort I want to stay at comped. Sometimes like Bellagio and Aria I won't get. But I mean, I love Aria. Don't get me wrong. Aria is probably my favorite place to stay. Vidara is probably my favorite place to stay, but Aria is like it's the same complex, right?
yeah, yeah.
Um, but like me and my wife, like we're like, I mean, if you give us Park MGM comp, like we are just we're happy. Like that's like mid level basic room, right?
Yeah.
Great resort, right by everything. Like we could care less. Um,
It's a room that doesn't have bed bugs. Like that's
yeah.
that's the standard.
And honestly, right, like for as much crap as people give like the low end resorts like Excalibur, Luxor, I mean, but like me personally, I mean, I think even like Excalibur is like a step above like Flamingo at this point. I've I Not to get on too much of a Vegas tangent, but
Not another Vegas show.
yeah, the couple times so El Dorado, right, ended up buying Caesars or merging with Caesars or whatever happened. And since that's happened, I feel like I've noticed a really huge drop in quality with the Caesars properties. I always thought that they were like a half step below the MGM, like the equivalent level. Um, but I mean now, man, like you can just tell all the corners they're cutting. And mind you, this is a company that a couple years ago basically, I mean, and you can look because someone posted the memo. They basically said, "Hey, our standard comp drink is now 0.75 ounces of liquor."
Oh,
And it's like, dude. Meanwhile, I'm sitting at Luxor playing, video poker. Now, granted, I'm tipping the guy pretty well. I'm tipping the guy $5, right? but I'm getting a friggin' double pour of makers. You know, I'm there, dude. I tipped the guy like $20 over the course of the night, and I'm just like tanked,
Yeah.
right? So
But I
I'm
mean,
like,
that's what it used to be, right? Like
yeah,
that's what you think of when you think of Vegas, right? It's not that it's cheap, but at least you're getting some value out of it, right?
no, and like that's I think that like this trip that I'm going on in a couple weeks with Gary and Caleb. I mean, that's what's going to be. Like I expect I'm not bringing as much money as I normally do. I'm planning on playing a lot of video poker, playing a couple of crap sessions with the guys, and I probably have about $500 in comps to burn through because I think I have 250. I think they gave me $250 in resort credit. So what MGM does is like if you stay at the cheaper resort, they'll give you more resort credit.
Hmm.
But what's funny is when you stay at the cheaper resort, they'll also give you a better room. So I have a one bedroom suite in the towers at Luxor, which are actually very nice, pretty nice rooms. At least last time I stayed in the tower rooms, they were nice. Now I'm looking at like probably like 4 or 5, 3, 4 years since I've stayed in one. But they were like newly renovated, so like we're talking at least rooms that have been renovated in the last like 4 or 5 years, and they're nice. It's a one bedroom suite. I actually have a fridge, which apparently is like a big deal now. It's why I like staying at uh, Vidara. But it's like they give me a better room, but they also give me more resort credit because I'm not staying at Aria. So it's like, okay, cool. Like I have no problem staying at Luxor. I love Luxor mostly because I love Mandalay Bay, and it's a 5 minute
It's right
walk, if
there.
that,
You're
to
on that end
Mandalay
of the
Bay.
street. Yeah. So
Yeah, and like that's the thing, right? Like when you go to Vegas, like if you're going to Vegas for your first time, cool, stay at the link, right? Especially if you're young, like stay at the link. Like you don't care. It's the smallest room you can get on the strip. I mean, you don't even get like two queens. Like I don't think they have a two queen room. I think they only have two double beds. Like we're talking like, I mean, it used to be the Imperial Palace, which was like, you know, pretty,
those,
pretty,
those are the days.
yeah.
Last
But
$5 craps came in town. But
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, but yeah, and like that right, that's another thing with limits, right? Like it's you can like I saw 10 last time I was at Luxor, I saw $10 basically up until about 5 to 7 p.m. and then
yeah,
it went to 15. And so it's like, dude, like yeah, if you want to play $10 craps, like have at it. You can do it. And honestly, I think Gary and I mean, it was like 6 or 7 o'clock and we had been there for a couple hours and we're betting $10 and they were like, no, you guys are grandfathered in. I mean, we were tipping the dealers, we were having a good time. And I mean honestly, like when you're playing craps for $10, like I mean if you have a good roll, like you're pressing everything up and everything anyways, like.
yeah, they're
But
getting money. So
yeah, but like I said, this trip is going to be a little bit more of a low roll. Like I said, I'm just going to burn as many comps as I can, have a couple good meals, play some video poker and play some craps with the guys, just have a good time, relax. Maybe get Caleb drunk and get him to take us to a club and put it all on his credit card. I mean,
yeah, there it is.
that's but it'll be fun. It'll be a good time. I mean, like last time. I think my total bill for my trip last time was like $300. Like I mean like obviously I had the money I brought to gamble, right? But that was we literally ate out every single night, right? I usually bring like cuz I'm not a big breakfast guy, so I'll usually just bring like basically like protein bars that I have for breakfast here at home. I'll bring a couple of them, right, just to save a couple bucks, and maybe and like I'll load up my like Starbucks card with like $50 on it, right? And I'll grab a Starbucks in the morning. I'll have a protein bar, and I mean now I don't eat nearly as much, so it's like one plated meal a day is usually enough for me. So especially like when you go to a restaurant, right? You get too much food anyways.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but yeah, I mean, yeah, we had and then obviously with alcohol, I mean that stuff was just flowing. I usually pick up I usually go to the ABC store and pick up a like 375 of Buffalo Trace, and just so I have something in the room, and then maybe I grab a couple of beers. I spend $25, right? And then I just have if I need a walking pop, I'm good to go too. So, but yeah, it should be a good time. I'm excited. I am excited to see what Caleb Unleashed looks like because last time he was not single. This time he is single, and I don't know, man. Like this could be just an absolute shit show with him because I mean anybody who's watched any of our stuff, you could find the last Vegas stream, and you could see the state that Caleb was uh, in that. So, but
Tell him to
it'll
pace
be a good
himself.
time.
That's it.
Yeah,
But
he's got to pace himself. But all right, enough Vegas talk. Let's get into the what the people are here for. We got a pretty decent pick three here. We got a pick three here. Starting in race 9. It's starting with a 5 furlong, 1,000 meter straight. Matt, what's my rule on 5 furlong races?
bet Brittany Wong.
Brittany Wong sitting in the 12 post here, winning last time out from the 13 post. Um, my guess is you're not going to get much of a price on this horse. I'm guessing this is probably your favorite going in here. But Matt, it is Valentine's Day, and Sophie Doyle at Turfway Park won a nice race earlier, and she was the only female jock with a mount at Turfway Park tonight on Valentine's Day. But there are 2 female jocks with mounts in this race, and the other horse I'm going to be taking is the horse that's drawn on the outside rail, and that's the 11 Candlelight Dinner here with Holly Doyle aboard. Um, and honestly, like the last race, not that great. The race 2 back though was actually pretty good. I think the race 2 back fits in here pretty well. Obviously, she was on the engine that whole time, or they were on the engine that whole time. 54 to 1, right? I mean, was a long shot in that race, and you know, even from that race, I think dropped some weight, even though they finished fourth in that race. And yeah, I just think you're getting a better post. I mean, you know, I mean, Holly Doyle's a pretty good jock. I mean, I know she's only 1 for 8 here, but I mean, she's won races at Ascot. She's won races basically everywhere. I don't know if she's won any Breeders' Cup races yet. Um, I mean, I know there was one that she was supposed to win, and what was that? What was that turf sprinter that came over that she
uh,
rode that was supposed to? That was like the favorite.
you're testing my riddled brain here, but yeah,
Yeah,
I know who you're talking
but
about.
but I mean, she's good, and honestly, the fact that she has a win this meet, I think, is a testament to show just that she is good, right? These like jocks from outside of the colony will come in, and we're talking top jocks will come in and not win, in the 12 mounts or whatever they'll have the entire year. So it's just like Ascot. You'll get everybody and anybody and everybody goes to Ascot for that small meet, and like getting a win there, like really shows you're top of the top. But yeah, I just think Holly Doyle that race 2 back I think is good enough to or is pretty close here at least. I still needs to step forward from that I think, but um, Holly Doyle, you're getting the outside rail. So I think if the one doesn't win in this race, I really like the 11 Candlelight Dinner here. And hey, it's Valentine's Day, right? Bet the lady jocks, bet Candlelight Dinner, right? I mean, we just got romance all over, right? No romantic warrior today, but we got Candlelight Dinner. Matt, where did you land?
A true gentleman on that. So I came into this prepared to talk about how I think jocks like Holly Doyle and Tom Marquand are at a disadvantage here because they usually don't race kind of the configurations that are at Hong Kong, right? Like they're used to those Euro tracks where you don't really see many ovals like this. That said, right, this isn't an oval race. This is a 5 furlong, 1,000 meter flat race, which Holly Doyle should be very familiar with, right? They run those all the time in Europe and UK, etc. So I think I'm with you, right? I cap these races kind of in a very, simple manner. I want to find a horse that can get to that outside rail, and that's it, right? I don't think you cap speed at all. I don't think you cap, kind of ability. It's just can you get to that outside rail? Can you get to that highway? That's kind of that stand side and run home. And I think, like you said, right, she's ideally drawn here. you know, I don't see any excuse, right? She hopefully she knows to stay on that rail. I think if she's paying any attention or has paid any attention to this, she'll know, just break and get over and, kind of glue yourself to that part of the track. But yeah, I mean, I think she shouldn't have any excuse here because I do think Candlelight Dinner has potentially enough ability in here. I agree with you on Fast Responder too. I use that as a B as well. Uh, Look, I mean, the only thing that gives me concern, right, is Brittany Wong picking up 10 pounds and the price, right? I mean, this horse has gone off at some really long odds, looked great last time, but was really ideally drawn, right? And now you get a little bit worse draws. She's still drawn outside, right? And you still, she still could probably navigate over and, get to that rail. But it gives me a little concern that you get, Brittany Wong's still an inexperienced jockey a little bit, and she won't be kind of glued to that. She does have to navigate at least a couple horses to get over. So I do wonder how that's going to play out. I'm just because of the price you get. I agree with you. I think it'll be too short. I think it's an overlay, but I also think that she's probably good enough to win this race. So fast responder, I think will still be on my tickets. The other two horses I used were actually out of that same race, and I've said this before, right? I not only look for horses that can get over to the stand side rail, but also look for horses in previous races that ran well, not getting over to the stand side rail, right? If you were kind of straighted out in the middle of the track and running well, to me at least, that indicates, hey, if you have a chance to get over this time and get to the good ground, you should run even better, right? You kind of ran against the bias last time, and now you're with it, right? So the two horses that stuck out to me, I think, were the 6 Sparkling Fellow, who unfortunately was ridden by a jockey that's not here for at least a month because his toe went sideways. Um, but you get Alexi Bedell instead of Zach Parton, and he's drawn in 10, so I think he still has a chance. There's definitely ability there, right? He closed in kind of the center of the track to get up last time, and again, theoretically should be at least on a little bit better ground this time. So I'll use that. And then Crimson Flash is the one that I really want to use because again, this horse was kind of straighted way out, right? It went out in the 3 path. Um, it kind of sent forward, and for all kind of visuals, looked like he should have faded out the back and just kind of kept fighting, right? I think that was an impressive first up effort to me. And so I think if Luke Ferraris can get over to the stand side rail and kind of show something, this horse might be the most talented in the race. So kind of my best play in here, I think, will be the 7 Crimson Flash, and I'll use the 1, the 6, and the 11 kind of underneath, just based on race shape. I tend to go wide in these 1,000-meter races. They can you get one bad break and your race is kind of over. So, but yeah, if I had to pick one just as like a win bet, I think the 7 Crimson Flash is probably my top choice in here.
All right. Well, it makes me feel good that you're on my two horses. So, you know,
We saw
especially
it similar. That's a good start.
especially yeah, especially when like it's kind of mean but kind of true. So like that, that helps. Although I did pick those horses before, like I came up with the Valentine's Day angle, but
As long as we're not on all the same horses, because you saw it last week when I hit, I still don't hit, right? I still somehow get screwed out of a pick three. So glad we haven't talked about that because I'm definitely
oh
not over
man,
it at all.
dude, I'm still not over the I'm still not over um why am I blanking? Maximum security. Thank you. I'm still not over maximum security. And how many years is that? Is that 6 years?
I don't think you ever get over the losses. I can't tell you the
Yeah.
winning tickets I've had, but I sure as hell can tell you the close losers that keep me up. So
Well, so I was telling this story. Who was I talking to? I think maybe this is on stream. I was mentioning this. I hit a pick five at Turfway Park. Paid $2,500. Right. It's feeling pretty good. But then like I think Mark Midland, our buddy Mark Midland, he posted like the entire meets like how it's paying versus like the parlay. And I think the pick five I hit paid the worst against the parlay of any pick five. It
you
should
were
have paid
talking about
something
that,
like
yeah.
it should have paid something like $4,000 or something from the parlay. And I'm just like, of course, right? Like even when I win, I lose. It's like even when I win, I lose. But you know, I mean I would have taken a $2,500 pick five tonight. Turfway Park is still running while we're recording this. Um, and if I was live to my top pick, maybe 2K pick five, I'd be happy with it. But let's move on to race 10 here. 1,200 meters, the Primula Handicap, Class 3 racing. Um, where did you land here, Matt?
Yeah, so I'm probably gonna get too cute in here and try and get around Swift Ascend.
Mm-hmm.
Just to start with, I think look, that horse was winning with some pretty good draws under James McDonald, and not that Etzeny's rode poorly on it, but I don't think he's had a win on this horse, and he's drawn a little bit further out, and the horse, is kind of bumping back down in class. So anyway, I think that horse is going to be short, might win, but just I don't think it's the right value for what I'd want in here. My top pick is actually the three Lucy in the Sky. I think you can toss the last race just based on draw. Right? It was way too far out. Um, two back it ran a mile. Maybe that's too far. Three back, terrible draw. I think this horse has some excuses, and I do think there's some back class here. And this is again one of those horses, kind of like last week, even where I think I've tried to stick with, even through some of those circumstances. And now, kind of everything I think is lining up correctly. I do like the cutback. Right, this horse has hit the board. Is 6 out of 7. Right, it's got 2 wins and 4 places, running 1,200, and is 0 for 6 at every other distance. So great. Love the cutback here. Again, I think this is kind of the ideal situation. So I do think Lucy in this guy kind of lines up better than any other horse in here, and that's where I think most of my money would be. That's going to be my lone A. Um, a couple other horses I will use in here. Again, schizophrenic handicapping. When I said I don't like Tom and Holly in these races, I'm going to use the 4.
Hmm.
Just because I think you get a price, right? I do think this horse had such a bad trip last time that you can kind of just toss the whole thing, right? And I don't know that this horse has any ability whatsoever. He might still run out the back, but you're going to get, gosh, I don't even know what it went off last time. Actually, it went off pretty short last time, but I mean, you're going to get double digits at least coming out of that, kind of bad showing. But had every excuse in the world, right? Broke from the 14 post, got hung wide, and just kind of folded up, wrapped up. And I think hey, the trials have looked good. He's drawn inside. Whether you really want that for a young horse, I'm not. Remains to be seen how that horse kind of takes to it. But I think it gets lost on the board, and just because of that, I think it's worth to use as a B in that because you see how magnified your payouts get when you get a horse like that kind of hitting, right? Even if you catch mid prices here, if you connect them with some favorites, these things don't pay. But if you catch that one kind of bomb horse in the middle of your sequence or any part of the sequence, these things just pay boxcars, right? Like people don't have them. And if you can get past the computers kind of taking those prices, right? If you can see something that they don't, something that's not on the page, I think you always have to take those opportunities to try and catch them. Maybe you catch one a year, if that. But this is kind of at least a chance I'd be willing to take on the 4. We'll see how Tom does when piloting this. And then the other horse that I'll use kind of reluctantly, although I don't think is ideally situated just yet, is the 6, Francis Maynell. Right, this horse hasn't done anything wrong the last 2. Has kind of been forward, has been kind of that improving horse. Has obviously had a really bad run of draws, and because of that, gets a pretty significant weight break here down to 118. The problems are Matthew Chadwick's up, who's a fantastic 1 for 87 at the distance over the past
Mm.
year, and he's still drawn out in the 12 post. So I do think this is probably more one to watch. I think I'll still use it just in case because I do think again, anytime you see a horse improving, maybe you get that. You'll also, again, like you said, like you see, you'll get that price, right? I mean, you might get 100 to 1 on this horse just based on all circumstances involved. But um, I do think maybe there's something here. You're hitting that fourth up race. You're hitting, kind of some you know, decent runs here. So maybe, right? If I like it at least a little bit, the price will be right to use. So losing this guy will be kind of my main play, and then the 4 Invincible Shield and 6 Francis Maynell would kind of be some distant Bs and get tossed on my ticket somewhere.
Yeah, I like Lucy in the Sky. I have it written down as a B, but generally with the pick threes, I mean, I usually I play them a little bit different. Include as like on a spread ticket, and then I'll press my A's. So I mean, Lucy in the Sky will be on most of my tickets here. I like seeing Hugh Bowman get aboard. I actually really like the cutback. Um, has 3 wins lifetime at Hong Kong. Two of them are at this track and distance. She's and also got 4 seconds. And so hasn't missed or has only missed the exacta once in 7 tries going the is it the 1200 meter, yeah, 1200
Yep.
meters
Yep.
here at Sha Tin. So yeah, I thought Lucy in the Sky, big player in here, especially if you're playing Quinellas and stuff, one to use. um I am not going to be fading the one Swift Ascend. I'm going to be using, um, you know, I think, I think found its friends here in Class Three. Um, is got moved up from Class Four, immediately came up with a second and 2 wins. Moved to Class Two, and basically immediately just came back down. So interested to see what price we get on Swift Ascend. I wouldn't be surprised if it's not kind of a short price, but um, yeah, I'm not fading that one. And I also actually like the two Glory Elite here on the class drop. Um, has been in class two for a couple of races, then ran in a restricted 4-year-old race, which is a pretty decent company. But if you kind of look at the last couple races, I mean, first of all, up in class two, then they went 1400, then they went 1600, and I think cutting back to the 1200. And if you kind of look back at some of the back races, the 1200 efforts here from Glory Elite, I think fit with the rest of these horses. So yeah, I really like Glory Elite, and like it's tough, right? Like like Lucy in the Sky is probably more of like an A type, just because of the fact that it's got Hugh Bowman aboard, and I mean if Zach's gone, he's probably the best jock that's been here full time. So I think he's going to be, yeah, I don't know. I think he's going to be pretty. I think Hugh's going to have a lot of wins, depending on how long Zach is out for. So I really do like Lucy in the Sky here, but I'm going to use Swift Ascent and Glory Elite as well, and see if we can get through this leg here.
Yeah, actually, so I'm just looking back at my stats, something that I missed before that I appreciate you finding here. So Glory Elite is what, 3 wins and 3 places at the track and distance. Funny enough, all 3 of those wins have come on the C+3. That horse is 3 wins and 1 place out of 4 tries at this rail. So take that as you will, right? Obviously, it's a horse that wants to be forward, and you can say, hey, when the rails are out, it's probably you know what it lends itself probably a little bit more towards speed, just because when you're wide and trying to close, you end up having to cover more ground. But yeah, I mean, something just to note is that this horse, all 3 lifetime wins have come on this exact course in distance with the rails out. So probably a use for me that I didn't have my ticket before.
All right. Let's move on here to race 11, the Rose Handicap. We're going to be going 1,600 meters, class 3 racing, 1 turn mile. Um, and, you know, I'm going back to the wall on Skyheart. I was really into this horse I believe last time it ran a couple weeks back, and came up second. Um, I might have also had the winner in that one. That might have been the one where I was like, why didn't I bet the Quinella? But I'm trying to remember. But um, yeah, I don't know. I think this is just a horse that is getting Hugh Bowman, has Hugh Bowman aboard, and it's just kind of like I said. Like honestly, with Zach being gone, I think you got to start looking at horses that Hugh Bowman's going to be on, horses that Karis Teton is on, and uh, they're not as they're not like as clearly better as like the next tier as kind of Zach is, but it's kind of like when Irad's riding at like Saratoga, right? Like he's the best guy there, but it's like all the best jocks are there as well, right? Like if Flavian's aboard a horse, right? Like it's not like you're like, well, Irad's the best, right? You got to use him like, Well, I guess maybe Flavian would probably be the same, but you get the point, right? Like all the best jocks are going to be there. It's not like a huge. It's not as big of a difference between I think what maybe tier two the second jocks are to Zach versus the other stuff. But Hugh Bowman rode this horse last time. Nice second effort. A little concerned about the draw. Now being drawn out in the 11 post. Is one that wants to be forwardly placed. In fact, his last win was going wire to wire. So uh, the post I think hurts his horse a little bit, but I'm still going to use as an A. Um, but the four new future folks won last time out wire to wire, and had kind of a soft lead that last time. Probably got away with one there. I'm a I don't know. Maybe might get away with it again here. I'm not necessarily seeing a ton of speed in this race. I mean, the 9 Beauty Viva's got some race, but we've already talked about this is Tom Marquand's third mount, or this is like the second time he's going to be in town, right? He doesn't know the track as well as some of these other guys. Um, is he going to be forward with this horse? I don't know. Um, and outside of that, you don't really have any true leaders, so. I think the four new future folks has got just a good shot to just get out there on the front end and kind of win how he did last time. I mean, he won last time from the 13 post doing it. Now he's gonna come from the 5 post. He's gonna have an easier time getting over to that rail in this case. So I think the 4 is in here with a big shot. And then the other horse I'm using is actually the 2, the best peach. Um, and this is the one that's dropping down in class. But I don't know. I like the cutback for this horse. I feel like the horse has been off form for a little bit. Um, but I also think the horse has just been in over its head in class 2. I think coming back down in class 3, coming back, I think down to the right distance for the horse. Um, I think that just bodes really well here for the 2, the best peach. I think does have a couple of races going going the 1 turn mile that fit in with this group. And yeah, I mean, I just think is going to be in the is just coming back. I think to a more realistic class. And maybe this is one that needs to still shed some weight. Maybe needs to run a couple times here, class 2 or class 3 before it becomes a player again. But I'm interested to see what this one does first up here in off the class drop. So I'm gonna use the 2 as a B, and then I'm gonna use the 4 new future folks and the 7 Skyheart as A's. Matt, where did you land?
So pretty different than you here. Actually, I think there's a horse to me that actually stood out in this race that just on paper should probably dust this field, and it's the 13, Another World. Now, I'm not, as you know, an Andrea Atzeni fan. I think he's a
Hmm.
bottom half jockey, but when half the colony's out, maybe that moves him up a little bit. Um, Look, I mean, I think he's just far and away the best horse in this field. Has some wins, showed really well last out. You know, moving up into class 3, should appreciate the extra distance. Has been kind of that improving type. Really doesn't have an excuse, I think, against this field. Because I think the kind of main challenges in here are all drawn pretty wide. And yeah, I mean, I'm not sure who else, could potentially even show something if this horse is able to run his race. So that'll kind of be my lone A in here. The only other horse that I think I'm going to use just in case is one that you did mention, and that's the 9 Beauty Viva. I think, again, kind of similar to last race, I'm just not sure on this horse, right? He has not had a draw inside of 10 yet and finally catches a decent one, drawn down in the 4 post. Did they send? Who knows, right? I'm not entirely sure, but has at least, you can kind of squint and say the horse is improving a little bit. I just think, right, all these races that he's been running are tosses, and interested to see if he gets a clean run, what could happen, right? The trials are pretty good. Finally gets a decent draw. Finally hits that fourth up race. All signs kind of point to one that I'll almost always use on a ticket when you see kind of all the confluence of circumstances. So I'll use Beauty View as a B, but yeah, I think most of my money will be through Another World, who probably go off as your favorite in here. I think I'm not entirely sure, but I would think that horse pretty takes some decent money. Even against the high weights.
Nice. Did you look at anything else for this? So you got I know you said that the rest of the card looked pretty rough, but
So I looked through every race to try and find a horse that I wanted to use as a best bet, quote unquote. I think this card is tough. I think all the horses that I think stood out on, just figures and class, etc., are all drawn incredibly poorly. Like I would scroll through a race and I'd be like, "Oh, this one looks pretty good," and then you'd see drawn in 12 post, right? And on a C+3, I'm like, "Okay, well, that's kind of a descent." So I went to race 4. I found a horse that I want to use, but I do think overall this card is just one that you either have to put a lot of work into and say, okay, I'm going to watch a bunch of replays and, try and sniff something out that's not on a piece of paper um, or just, you know, at some birthdays and, say, hey, this could be pretty random. And you might get some pretty big bombs across this card, I think, just because I think it is so flat. You do have kind of a weird confluence of circumstances. But anyway, I think my best bet in race 4, I think, will be the one Magnificent 9. And it's hard for me to want to bet a horse as a best bet that's over 16 lifetime, but those are the kind of horses I love, right? They're due. That's the best angle of all.
hmm.
I think the drop back down to class 4 really should benefit this horse, right? If you look that class 2 or class 4 effort last out or 2 back, Zach kind of got trapped really wide. Was into a fast pace and, but did show pretty well in a race that came back okay. So I just think that there's not much else in this field, right? I think it just should be kind of a higher level of class than the rest of these horses in here because you have some pretty poor horses that aren't doing much down in class 4, or even if they are, they've kind of been shown at a Happy Valley. And even the first time starters in here, the first uppers, yeah, they're not. None of the trials look all that great, and don't have the best kind of jockeys aboard either. Well, the 8 gets Teton, but anyway, yeah. I mean, I think that's just where I'll go for my best bet is the one Magnificent 9 in race 4, hoping that it's just a classier horse than the rest of this field.
I stared at this race actually for a long, long time, and now and I thought I was seeing something, but I just couldn't get there.
You're not
I
seeing a
thought,
beer bet? No beer bet on this?
sure, I'll take a beer bet. I
Look
like
at
the
that. I
10.
see. We do it for the people. There we go.
I like the 10 Lucky Blessing. Um, I just think that this is a race that's a bit devoid of speed. Honestly, if this horse was drawn like in the 10 post or before, this would have been my probably best bet for this race. I don't know, man. It's tough getting over to the rail. And like even getting over, I mean, this horse hasn't really like put in I think an effort that's close to some of these horses. I think your one is probably the horse to beat in this race, but I don't know, man. Maybe this 10 can. I mean, if Tom Marquand can, just get this horse out the gate clean and over to the rail, maybe he's able to slow it down enough. So we'll do a beer bet. We'll do a beer bet 10 versus one.
I feel like I guilted you into it, but that's all
That's
right.
fine. That's fine. Um, my best bet was actually I believe in race 7, and yeah, I kind of like the 6 packing Hurricane. I like the cutback. Going from 2000 to 1800, and I think if you go back through this horse's uh, PPs, I think. I mean, I think he's got an effort at 2000 that stands out, but at 1800 he's been pretty good, like at least compared to the rest of the field. And this is just one of those races where half the field hasn't gone this distance, right? So you got a horse that at least has an effort, and not necessarily that like Happy Valley effort, right? You look back and that one just looks awful, but kind of like what I was talking about with the earlier races. You see Karis Teton get aboard here, and when Zach's not around, I mean it's Karis and Hugh Bowman and everybody else. You know, so Karis getting aboard here, made me kind of look at it. The fact that this is a horse that might be lone speed, um, and he's in a 10 post, so he does have to do a little bit of work to get the lead. But going the 1800 meters, I think he should be able to get across, and he's going to have enough time to get across. Right, you got the long straight there,
Yep.
so yeah, I don't know. I like the six packing Hurricane in this race. Like I said, you're probably digging pretty deep to find the races that fit. I mean, you're looking probably at least five back, and earlier, where this so the horse is a bit off form, but the horse is also coming off a bit of a layoff. So maybe something kind of went wrong. Needed a little bit of time off. But like I said, I like seeing Teton get aboard, especially off the layoff. Um, and I think this one's probably in a well meant spot. So I like the six packing Hurricane in race 7.
I love layoff horses, so
Yeah.
I like it.
Oh no. That's gonna do it for us here. You've got to be Sha Tin me. Obviously, check us out at ontherwronglead.com, at wrong_lead on Twitter. I am at Cherry Drink. Matt is at Slow and Steadied. Obviously, you can check all of his picks on his Twitter at Slow and Steadied. He'll have those posted up for you. Yeah, I mean, we got to hit one of these, right, and not get DQ'd, right? We're
due.
You talk about these horses being due. We're due, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Good luck, guys.